All right, let's talk about the next big leap in artificial intelligence. We're moving into an era of systems that aren't just smart, but are actually truly personally attuned to you. Yeah, you can forget about those generic chatbots and one-size-fits-all apps. We are on the verge of a massive shift here. We're going way beyond AI that just, waits for you to type a command. We're talking about a world where it actually anticipates what you need. And that, right there, is the new frontier, hyper-personalization. So, what's making all this possible? Well, it's a concept called agentic AI. And trust me, it promises to completely transform how we interact with pretty much all of our technology. Just think about it for a second. Imagine having an assistant that doesn't just sit there waiting for you to tell it what to do. Instead, it's actively working in the background to make your life easier because it genuinely understands what you're trying to achieve. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? But that's the real core idea driving all of this. Okay, so let's get specific. What is agentic AI? Well, it's a huge leap past just simple automation. We're talking about systems that are built from the ground up to be autonomous. They can look at a really complex goal, break it down into smaller steps, figure out the right tools for the job, and then just go and do it, all by themselves. Now, that sounds incredibly powerful, I know, but how does it actually work under the hood? Let's pull back the curtain a little and peek at the tech that's making all this magic happen. Okay, so at the very core of every single one of these AI agents is a powerful large language model, an LLM. The easiest way to think about it is as the brain of the whole operation. It's the cognitive engine that gives the agent its ability to reason, to think, and to make decisions. But how does one of these agents actually think? A lot of them use a framework called REACT, which is short for, you guessed it, reason and act. It's actually a pretty simple but really powerful cycle. First, the agent thinks about the situation. Then it takes an action. Maybe that's searching a database or using a tool. And finally, it observes the outcome of that action to figure out what to do next. It just keeps repeating that loop. But here's the thing. An agent is way more than just that LLM brain. It's part of a whole system. For starters, it needs memory, so it can remember your past conversations and keep track of what's going on. That's absolutely crucial for personalization. Then it needs tools. Think of these as APIs that let it actually interact with the rest of the world, things like booking websites or company databases. And finally, it needs a planning module, something that can take a huge, complicated goal and break it down into a simple to-do list. And to get things done, these agents use a few really clever strategies. They can plan things out by breaking a big task into smaller pieces. They can use those tools we just talked about to take action in the digital world. And get this, they can even work together. You could have one agent act as a researcher to go find a bunch of information and then hand it all off to a writer agent to turn it into a neat summary. It's literally like building your own little digital project team. Now, there's a really critical piece of this puzzle we need to talk about, the data loop. See, when you interact with one of these agents, your request, it doesn't just stay on your phone or your computer. It gets sent over the internet to the provider's servers, where the big LLM processes it. Then the answer gets sent back to you. This whole round trip is what makes everything work, but it's also where some really serious questions start to pop up. And that right there brings us to the big, unavoidable trade-off. It's kind of the central paradox of agentic AI. Its biggest strength, that amazing hyper-personalization, is also its biggest weakness. To get that perfectly tailored experience, you have to share your data. And that comes with some very, very real risks. The European Data Protection Board really hit the nail on the head with this one. We're essentially making a trade. Our personal data in exchange for convenience. I mean, think about it. For an agent to book a flight for you, It needs your credit card details, your login info. The more powerful and helpful we want these agents to be, the more personal data they're going to need. And look, this isn't just some theoretical what-if problem. This is happening right now. Researchers analyzed a bunch of real-world user prompts that were sent to an AI, and what they found was kind of shocking. Thousands of instances of super sensitive personal data. We're talking full names, over 1,000 email addresses, physical locations, you name it. It was all just sitting there, embedded in people's requests. That data is out in the wild, and it is absolutely vulnerable. So where are the biggest weak spots in this whole process? Well, first off, the providers themselves might be logging everything you type in, to train their future models. Second, the techniques they use to anonymize data can and do fail, which could leave your personal info exposed. And third, if they're using other cloud companies to host their stuff, your data is really only as safe as the weakest link in that entire chain. This all leads to a super important question. When something goes wrong, who's actually responsible for protecting your data? And the answer, honestly, is it's complicated. It's really a shared responsibility. You've got the provider, the company that actually built the AI model. They're on the hook for the core security. But then you have the deployer. That's the company that puts the AI into their app. And they're responsible for how it's used and for following all the rules like GDPR. Okay, so let's take a step back. On one hand, we have this incredible, game-changing potential. On the other, we have some pretty serious risks. So how in the world do we navigate this? Well, it really boils down to using a mix of smarter technology and just having a smarter strategy. The good news is, we're not helpless here. There are some really clear steps that can be taken. For example, the companies using these AIs should only collect the absolute bare minimum of data they need. They can also clean up the data and strip out sensitive info before it ever gets sent to the LLM. And maybe most importantly, we need total transparency, clear privacy policies, and a real effort to educate all of us about the potential risks. As these AI agents start handling more and more of the day-to-day routine stuff, the role of humans in the workplace is gonna change a lot. We're already seeing this fundamental shift in what kinds of skills are becoming the most valuable. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella has a great way of putting it. He says AI isn't about replacing people, it's about augmenting them. By letting the AI handle all the tedious, repetitive work, it frees up the human experts to focus on what we do best, the really hard stuff, like high-level architecture, big-picture strategy, and solving those messy business problems that need real creativity. And that really brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. We are building systems that can think and act on their own. And as we give them more and more of our tasks and more of our data to get these amazing, hyper-personalized experiences, we have to keep asking ourselves, who is really in control here? And how do we make absolutely sure that these incredibly powerful new tools are always working in our best interests?